Carl Jung once discovered something unsettling. You can see someone's true character by paying attention to just two things: not their words, not their achievements, not even the polished way they act when people are watching. Jung found that two psychological leaks will always reveal who someone really is beneath the mask they wear. And most people reveal these secrets without even realizing it. Imagine this moment. You're sitting across from someone you thought you knew, a colleague, a friend, maybe even your partner. They seem genuine, reliable, put together, but your gut whispers something different. You can't explain why, but it feels like there's more to them. Something hidden beneath the surface. Jung spent decades studying what he called the persona, the mask we all wear to hide our deeper self. He realized that no matter how carefully a person constructs that mask, it always cracks in the same two ways. And if you know how to watch for them, you'll never be fooled again by surface appearances. And here's the twist. These character leaks don't just expose other people. They expose you. Jung famously wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, and these two psychological windows will show you parts of yourself you may have spent years avoiding." Most people believe they can judge character by looking for confidence, kindness, or charisma. But Jung warned us, those are just part of what he called the performance layer, the curated version of ourselves we project outward. The authentic self lives underneath, often in the shadows. And no matter how skilled someone becomes at managing their image, two recurring psychological patterns will always reveal the truth. Why are they so reliable? Because these patterns operate beneath conscious control. People can fake a smile, they can polish their words, they can rehearse their image, but they cannot fully control what leaks out when stress, instinct, or raw emotion take over. Jung once said, "Thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge." He knew that surface-level judgments were almost always wrong. True character, he argued, only shows itself through unconscious patterns. Those subtle but powerful signals people can't hide. The first reveal is something I like to call shadow mapping, seeing who someone really is by paying attention to who they judge most harshly. Jung believed that what bothers us most in others is often what we've buried deepest in ourselves. He called this projection. When you hear someone consistently criticize another person, especially with unusual intensity, it's rarely about the target. It's about themselves. Here's a clear example. Meet David, a successful architect. David prides himself on integrity, but in every meeting, he harshly criticizes his colleague Marcus, calling him fake and manipulative. His jaw tightens when Marcus receives praise. To most people, David looks like he's standing up for honesty, but Jung would see something else entirely. David's intense reaction isn't about Marcus. It's about David's own unacknowledged longing. Deep down, David wishes he had Marcus's charm and social grace, but he buried that desire long ago because he equates it with dishonesty. So instead of owning that part of himself, he attacks it in Marcus. Jung once wrote, "We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses." By condemning Marcus, David is actually rejecting a part of himself that could help him grow. This is the essence of shadow mapping. When someone judges others intensely, they are almost always revealing their own internal conflicts. But shadow mapping is just the first of Jung's two major character reveals. The second is what I call mask maintenance, how someone behaves when their carefully crafted image is threatened. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Yet most people don't live that way. They spend enormous energy maintaining who they think they should be. That's the mask, the persona, and it takes constant effort to keep it intact. Here's the fascinating part. When the mask slips, even for a moment, someone's true character emerges. These moments often happen under stress, during criticism, or whenever a person feels their identity is being questioned. So, how do you spot it? Pay close attention when someone's competence is challenged, when they're called out for a mistake, or when they face unexpected pushback. Do they get defensive? Do they lash out? Do they deflect blame? Or can they pause, reflect, and respond with honesty? Let's make this real. With a story. Sarah, a marketing director, was known for her calm professionalism. Her reputation at the company was that she never lost her cool, no matter how high the pressure. But during a critical meeting, a client harshly criticized her team's strategy, questioning Sarah's judgment directly. In that moment, Sarah's polished persona cracked, her tone sharpened, her body stiffened. Instead of addressing the critique with composure, she interrupted the client, blamed her own team, and even took subtle digs at the client's past decisions. Years of professionalism vanished in seconds, replaced by defensiveness and fear. Jung would argue, this is Sarah's authentic character, not the calm image she spent years performing. Because the truth always surfaces when the mask is under pressure. He warned us about this dynamic. The foundation of all mental illness is the unwillingness to experience legitimate suffering. Sarah's unwillingness to feel the discomfort of being criticized forced her into defensive patterns that exposed who she really was. And here's the kicker. You don't need a crisis to see someone's mask maintenance in action. It shows up in the tiniest cracks of daily life. When their phone dies and they can't scroll social media. When they're kept waiting longer than they expected. When someone doesn't laugh at their joke. These small frustrations are enough to pierce the mask. Watch carefully. Facial micro-expressions, a shift in tone, a flash of irritation. These tiny moments reveal more about someone's character than hours of polished conversation. Jung understood that the most authentic people, the ones he described as individuated, showed consistency between their persona and their private self. They didn't need to overprotect their image because they had accepted their own flaws and contradictions. Their reactions under pressure aligned with their values, not their defenses. That's the ultimate lesson of mask maintenance. It's not about catching people in hypocrisy. It's about recognizing that the truest self appears, not when people are prepared, but when they're unprepared. To summarize, Jung's first reveal, shadow mapping, shows you who someone is by observing who they judge. His second, mask maintenance, reveals character through how they handle moments when their image collapses. Together, they form a powerful lens for seeing beyond the persona into the authentic self. But there's another layer, an even deeper insight that Jung hinted at. It's not just about observing others, it's about noticing what these reveals awaken in you. Because when you see someone else's mask slip, you can't help but confront your own. Now that we've uncovered Jung's two major character reveals, let's take a step back and ask the deeper question. Why do these patterns work so reliably? Jung dedicated his life to studying what he called the architecture of the psyche, how the human mind organizes itself to survive reality while protecting the ego. He believed our minds are like houses. The persona is the polished front porch, but the real structure extends deep underground into the unconscious. And it's in those hidden rooms that our real patterns live. He wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But to truly transform, you first need to know the chemical composition, the authentic character, beneath the performance. Shadow projection works because the unconscious doesn't separate neatly between me and them. When David judged Marcus for being manipulative, he wasn't describing Marcus at all. He was wrestling with his own buried desire to be socially skillful. The unconscious uses projection to make hidden material visible. This is why harsh judgments are such a giveaway. The stronger the emotional charge behind someone's criticism, the more it reveals about their own internal struggles. That's why people who are genuinely confident rarely waste energy mocking others for insecurity. And those who feel secure in their success don't usually feel threatened by someone else's ambition. Jung captured this perfectly when he said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people about one, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself." Our judgments of others often come from this loneliness, the pain of rejecting parts of ourselves we've never learned to accept. The second reveal, mask maintenance, works for a different reason. Maintaining a false image takes enormous psychological energy. Jung referred to this as ego maintenance. It's like holding a mask in place with both hands. You can do it for a while, but the moment you're distracted, it slips. And when it slips, when the persona is challenged, primitive defenses leap into action. Some people attack, others withdraw. Some deflect blame, others fall into denial. Each reaction tells a story about their authentic patterns. Think about it. When someone faces criticism, do they lean into growth or shrink into defensiveness? Do they take responsibility or scramble to protect their pride? Jung argued that these moments of breakdown are like psychological X-rays. They reveal the bones of someone's character. He warned, "A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them." The way someone handles stress or criticism shows whether they've integrated their difficult emotions or are still ruled by them. Here's where this becomes powerful. These breakdowns don't just happen in dramatic crises. They happen in ordinary life. The delayed flight, the rude cashier, the missed call, the everyday pressures of being human. If you observe carefully, those small cracks will tell you more about a person's true self than years of polished presentation. But before we move forward, here's an important warning. Jung cautioned that these insights can be misused. He said, "The greatest danger is that one may get stuck in the unconscious and never come back to reality." If you start using shadow mapping and mask maintenance only to catch people or judge them, you're falling into the same unconscious patterns. You're trying to observe. The real purpose of these tools isn't to control others or feel superior. It's to see clearly, and through that clarity, to connect more deeply. Because the ultimate revelation is this: the same cracks you observe in others are also mirrors, reflecting back to you. We've now seen how Jung's two character reveals, shadow mapping and mask maintenance, can pierce through the persona. But Jung never wanted us to stop there. He warned, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. In other words, the point isn't just to spot other people's flaws. It's to recognize the mirror they hold up to you. This is what I call Jung's integration test. Every time you notice someone projecting, or every time you see a mask slip, ask yourself a harder question. Where does this live inside me? If David judged Marcus for being manipulative, the real growth isn't in labeling Marcus. It's in David realizing, where do I feel the same desire for charm and influence? And why have I buried it instead of learning to use it wisely? If Sarah cracked under pressure when her professionalism was questioned, the deeper question isn't whether Sarah is weak. It's this. How do I react when my own competence is threatened? Do I respond with humility, or does my ego leap up to defend itself? Jung believed this mirror effect is the doorway to individuation, the lifelong process of becoming your most authentic self. He wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That's the danger. If you only use these insights outwardly, judging others, catching their contradictions, you'll miss the point. You'll become trapped in the very shadow you're trying to see. But if you turn the mirror inward, you start reclaiming the hidden parts of yourself. Here's the hard truth. The people who trigger you most are your greatest teachers. That annoying coworker, the friend who always makes you feel small, the public figure you despise. They're all mirrors, reflecting your disowned traits. Jung would say, there's gold in the shadow. What bothers you in them is the unpolished gold inside you, waiting to be integrated. So how do you actually practice this? Here's a simple 3-step process, inspired by Jung's integration work. Step 1. Notice the charge. Pay attention to when someone provokes a strong emotional reaction in you. Anger, disgust, envy, irritation. Step 2. Name the trait. Ask yourself, what exactly am I reacting to? Arrogance, weakness, neediness, manipulation? Step 3. Find the mirror. Where does that same trait live in me? Maybe I've suppressed it, maybe I'm ashamed of it, or maybe I've simply denied it. When you do this honestly, something powerful happens. Instead of projecting your shadow onto others, you reclaim it. You stop being controlled by unconscious patterns, and you start to grow. But be warned, this is not comfortable work. Jung cautioned, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. To see the shadow in yourself requires courage. It means admitting things you'd rather keep hidden. But it's also the path to authenticity, the path to strength, and the path to genuine connection with others. Because here's the ultimate paradox. The more you integrate your own shadow, the less harshly you'll judge others. Instead of seeing enemies everywhere, you'll start to see fellow travelers, people carrying their own hidden struggles, just like you. That, Jung believed, is the beginning of wisdom. So if you've made it this far, here's my challenge to you. The next time someone irritates you, don't just ask, what's wrong with them? Ask instead, what are they revealing about me? That single shift could change the way you see others and the way you see yourself forever.